Hello, cartoon fanatics, RJ here, and this cartoon corner is going to be a bit different. 2020 hasn't been great for, well, a lot of reasons, but it's certainly been fantastic when it comes to cartoons. Take today's example, Kipo and the Age of the Wonderbeasts. The second season dropped on Netflix, and I enjoyed every moment of it. At first, I wanted to make a standard review, but there's already so many videos and analyses about Season 2 and the theories behind certain aspects of the show, so instead, I'm going to share my personal top 10 reasons as to why you should watch Kipo. Note I said these are personal, completely my opinion, but similar to when I make top adorable king moments for the Owl House, these are just my favorite reasons of why I love Kipo and the Age of the Wonderbeasts. Now, I will put a slight spoiler warning. I'm not going to go into anything too specific here, but if you have no clue about what Kipo is, then clearly I'm going to go over the basics in this video. Alright, that's been said and done. Let's dive right into it.
I have to do this.
I had to gush about the music right off the bat. The show's score is just perfect. Each character has their own theme that plays in variations as the show focuses on them. Every opening we get the clear transition into the title card with a perky upbeat melody as the camera pans to Kipo's name hidden in the background. And of course the sick action sequences. The action is amazing on its own, but the music elevates every sequence to a whole new level. Just listen to this thing slap. Needless to say, when you think of Kipo, you're gonna think of the show's music. There are albums for both seasons available, so you know I'll be cruising down the highway with that playing on full blast. I'm not usually one to dig apocalyptic worlds. They tend to be pretty grim, and somehow the landscape loses all of its color and becomes a dark sepia gradient. But Kipo follows Adventure Time in having a vibrant, colorful, apocalyptic world. In the universe of Kipo, animals have mutated into functioning conscious beings and have taken over what remains of human society. Any remaining humans have gone to live underground. It's really cool to see how animals have mutated and how they take in what was left from the humans and incorporate it into their own society. And on top of that, we also get to see how humans have adjusted to living underneath the ground in burrows. It's an interesting take on the end of humanity because arguably humanity hasn't technically ended, but more that there's a new rise of intelligent beings that humans now need to learn to coexist with these new creatures. And that concept is an overarching theme as the show goes on. So if any of this I mentioned sounds interesting to you, then yeah, you need to check out Kipo. The core of the show is focused on our titular character, Kipo, a girl from a burrow who ends up on the surface and befriends two humans that grew up on the surface and a couple of mutated animals dubbed mutes. From there, the group travels across the new land, first to try and get Kipo reconnected with her burrow, and then to help Kipo rescue her burrow in the second season. There are so many reasons why our main group here is fantastic, but the reason I'm focusing on is the lack of any romantic relationships. That isn't to say the show is completely void of romance, but there is no romance happening within our core group here. They function more as a discovered family that is learning about each other's experiences and how they help flesh out their pasts and help themselves grow as individuals. I'm more invested in the group as a whole, and also the characters are fairly young. There is a bit of a side relationship with Benson and a character from Kipo's burrow, and that is all I'm saying there because it gets super cute in season 2. But other than that, romance isn't the focus of the story. Understanding this world and learning how to thrive in it is the focus, and that's the story I'm most invested in. You want something sharp and crisp and fluid all at once? Then Kipo's gonna be your kind of animation. When I draw, I tend to lean on sharper darkened lines on my characters, even though I'm trying to branch out on that. And while I wasn't immediately interested in Kipo, the sharpness of the character design matches with the overall intensity and fun feel of the show. And when that animation picks up, yeah, it's time for a joyride. I brought up the action a bit when I mentioned the music, and this is the second seamless part that makes these sequences so great. That sweet balance between the music cadences and the fast-paced animation shows some of the ultimate highlights of watching this show. I suppose this one ties into the previous one about the whole apocalyptic setting. I know I'm kind of doing these somewhat out of order, but I'm just kind of throwing out them as soon as they pop into my head. But one of the highlights that I wanted to focus on as a separate point is the lore and world building of Kipo. I mentioned how the mutes have adapted to take on previous human activities and incorporate it into their society. And one of the core elements of the show, and one of the most intriguing, is how this mutation occurred and if it can be replicated. I don't want to get into too many spoilers here, but there is a unique set of human-mute hybrids that are closely connected with Kipo. She begins to discover this as she travels to find her burrow and then fully explores it in Season 2. Could this fusing of human and mute be able to create a peaceful society for all species, or will it ultimately destroy the world again? It's that balance that Kipo must learn, and the more she finds out about the past, the more invested we become with this world and its characters. When it comes to humor, I tend to lean more on animation, not just because it's visually appealing for physical comedy, but mostly because you'll get a scene where one character is the straight man and will just have this deadpan done with life look on their face while others are being goofy. That deadpan look usually goes to Kipo's companion Wolf, the more anchored down, battle-weary kid of the group. But even then, she still has humorous moments that become even funnier due to the fact that her letting her guard down is completely rare. Benson and Dave are definitely the top comedy duo of the group, sending jabs back and forth like a couple of college roommates. Some of the side characters have some good funny moments too, like the introduction of the Timbercats and their love of flapjacks, flannel, and battle axes alongside their cat personalities. Since each season focuses on a journey of sorts, each episode we find ourselves in a new situation with different humorous moments. The comedy never seems too stagnant, and it doesn't overstay its welcome either. When things get serious, they get serious. If the scene needs something quick and lighthearted, a joke will be thrown into it. For me, the balance of the comedy is pretty good, but since humor is subjective, this might not be the same for everyone. Still, it's one of the highlights for me. For every good cartoon epic, there's a slew of villains in its wake, and Kipo has its fair share of three-dimensional, fascinating villains. So far, we technically only have two main villains, each on opposing extremes of the human-mute dynamics, which feeds into Kipo's idyllic and positive mindset of everyone being able to get along. One of the villains is a bit of a spoiler, so I won't dive into that too much, but the best villain so far is Scarlemagne, a mandrill mute with an affinity for classical-styled society, specifically one where he rules over everything. In Season 1, Kipo and her friends must avoid Scarlemagne at all costs, since he captures any remaining humans and brainwashes them to be his workers and soldiers. And as the story goes on, we learn more about this mandrill and his past to add to that extra layer. But at the end of the day, he's still a villain, one that despises humans and only loves mutes to rule over them. And he does it with such dramatic flair, you can't help but love and hate this character. Also, they did a good job capturing what mandrill teeth look like. You don't want to mess with primates, guys. They got nasty teeth. It's fair to say we've seen a good amount of poor adaptations from literature or other media to film. But one of the strong parts about Kipo is that its creator, Radford Seacrest, I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce your last name. Well, the point is he also made the show. It's adapted from a webcomic he made back in 2015. I only found a few snippets of what this webcomic might have been, but it's strikingly clear how the style and feel of the webcomic fluidly transferred over to the cartoon series. If you like adaptations done right, you can't get more accurate than the original creator making the adaptation. Super cool to see Rad's whole vision come together with awesome animation and music. Total kudos to you, man. I'm always a huge supporter of creators who make their vision clear and don't let anything deter much from that vision. And you certainly seem to be one of those creators. There are a lot of great, intriguing characters in Kipo and the Age of the Wonderbeasts, but the one that shines really bright is Wolf. First off, look at this sick character design, 10 out of 10. On top of that, Wolf is a feral little girl that had to face the harshness of the surface and take it on alone. She starts as this kick-butt, mute-destroying child with a weapon she got from a giant mutant scorpion known as a Death Stalker. This character just exudes awesomeness, but also hints at a rough past. It's in her interactions with our titular character that allows us to see all of Wolf and watch her slowly open up from being, well, a lone wolf to being a strong support and eventually learning how to enjoy herself in this world. It's a great and sometimes heartbreaking development to watch, making Wolf one of the top characters of the show, which is good because she's the very first one we start out with at the beginning of the show, alongside my number one reason. You can't have Kipo and the Age of the Wonderbeasts without Kipo. The majority of this show revolves around her and her personal journey discovering the surface world and learning more about herself, her family, and how the choices she makes can help bridge the divide between humans and mutes. She's vibrant, upbeat, musically talented, quick on her feet, and her character design sticks out, even amongst a world of vibrant colors. And as the show goes on, we learn more about why her design is so unique. It's not just this is the main protagonist, so we need her to stick out kind of design. It has a purpose in the story and the world and its lore. And Kipo's character is one filled with optimism and determination. These are character traits that could easily become annoying, but the reality of the world and how it works always balances Kipo out. She'll always try to do what she thinks is right. But if push comes to shove, she's going to protect those she cares about no matter what. There's a huge moment at the end of Season 2 where Kipo learns more about Scarlemagne and tries to get some kind of good side to come out of him. It's a storyline that seems like it'll end with a redemption arc, but instead the end result is surprising and extremely pleasing. Not every human and every mute is going to be on Kipo's side, and Kipo is mature enough to realize this and know when she needs to throw down. And that's what makes her and this show so fantastic. Well, there you have it, all of my reasons about why I love Kipo and the Age of the Wonderbeasts. If you haven't seen this show yet and any of my points sounded interesting to you, then definitely hop on to the nearest Netflix you can get and go check it out. If you have seen Kipo and there's elements of it you love that I didn't mention here, feel free to put that in the comments below. I know there's a lot of other good points about it that I probably didn't bring up here. These were just kind of my personal top 10. So feel free to add whatever you want down, below the description there. And if you like that, press the like button or whatever. Look, this is RJ. I'm done talking because talking about Kipo for 13 minutes now makes me want to go and rewatch the whole thing. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Everyone have a good one.